hello. Welcome back to the Misadventures podcast. I'm Miss Honeybee Marie.
I'm Brittany Schulman. We're so glad that you came back and decided to join us. And today we're having a mukbang, but not really, because we are eating food. This is actually my dinner. I've got some cheese and crackers. So it's ASMR. You get a mukbang ASMR podcast all in one. How's that for value?
Having cake and ice cream, like box cake with ice cream mixed into it. It's my favorite.
Oh, it's sweet and salty like us. So make sure as you're joining us, like, comment, subscribe. Just let us know, what are you eating tonight or today? It's today, Tuesday, specifically. So let us know what you're having tonight or today. Or if you want to know what kind of crackers I'm eating, because, ooh, they fancy.
But if you're sweet or salty, we'll have a contest. Who's sweet, salty, sweet?
Yeah, we'll go with that.
I think we're a little goofy today. Not tonight, but today. Yeah.
Or whenever you happen to be listening or watching.
I don't know which way is up and which way is down. We're transitioning back into a few things, and which way is up, which way is down, which way is sideways, which way all the 7 directions. Which way? How many directions do we have? 4, 7, 8?
7 directions.
Okay. But Brittany's we're going to talk about imposter syndrome. And Brittany's going to define it because I get it, but I like the textbook version.
Which I don't have. So imposter syndrome. I wasn't prepared. So we're doing our today is our misadventures in imposter syndrome. And particularly as women of color, we all kind of face this in different ways. And it's a psychological pattern where an individual doubts their skills, accomplishments, and has a persistent internalized fear of being exposed as a fraud. And the thing is that as women of color and as Native women, because we are in spaces we are not supposed to be, and let's just be real and honest, any space you're in, you're not supposed to be there as a Native woman, unless it's an over-sexualized space. Let's just put it that way to be nice about it. So there's always this persistent sort of nagging in the back of your head that, at least, and I will speak for myself, and I didn't think I had imposter syndrome or that it manifested because I was like, oh no, I can negotiate. I have no problem telling someone I should be paid XYZ. Or I should have this because my skills are worth it. And what I realized is that my imposter syndrome actually manifests a little differently. So a few years back, I was at a conference, and it was with this huge Indigenous conference of worldwide Indigenous peoples. And there was this Maori guy there who I knew through other things. And we were just like talking back and forth. He's like, so what do you, I said, I like to be the stage manager. I like to be the person in the back who's putting everything together. I spend a lot of time doing stage managing, and I feel really comfortable there. And he goes, wasn't there all Native women like to be? I think that's, I was like, no, no, I don't think that's necessarily where all Indigenous women like to be. I think a lot of times we feel pushed to those places because the show has to happen. Whatever your show is, it has to happen. And someone has to make sure that it happens. And a lot of times, particularly when we're talking about Indigenous women leadership, it's very much valued that you can get the show done and you can make sure that everything's smoothly. So no matter what's happening no matter what's happening behind the stage, on stage looks good, it's smooth, and nobody's the wiser that you have had to pick up kids, wipe off floors, move things around. And I really got to thinking about that in my life. And I am a show person. I mean, I would be on doing podcasts if I wasn't a little bit of a let me be in front. I actually do like being in front, and I actually do. That's part of as a storyteller. That's part of my medicine. So I was really thinking about that and internalizing it, and um, trying to understand where I got to the place that no, I'd rather be in the stage managing spot. I because not only is that a safe space, it's also a space I'm familiar with, and um, no one will find me out that I'm want to be on stage. So I was really thinking about that, and I think what has happened is that I've gotten so used to being a manager position that my real self, my true self, is like, no, girl, get up there. This is your time. This is your turn. You can be on stage too. So I've been really grappling with that and what it looks like and how it's been remanifesting in my life. So that's really kind of and also that indigenous men all over are colonized. So there's a very colonized perspective to think that all women just want to be in the back putting things together. That's not really true at all. So anyway, that's a little of my story and where I've come from and where I'm moving towards and going. And I'm gonna eat my cracker.
Thank you so much for sharing. So yeah, that we have a preference, right? That we can have a preference of where we want to be and what part of the show we want to be a part of, and that we want to be on stage, and that there are, because we're people. Did you know that? Did you know that Indigenous women are people?
What? No.
I think some people are missing the memo that we have emotions, that we have, that we have needs, and that we have wants, and that we can decide where we want to be. Anyways, right? And I think my whole entire life is imposter syndrome. So let's start when I got born. No, I'm just kidding. So every time that I'm looking for a job, I have a really hard time with the resume part of it, and a really, really hard time doing the cover letter part of it. The resume part of it is easier for me. The cover letter part is where I completely I shut down, completely shut down. And this is not a one time deal that I've done. And this last go around, I got some help from a very wonderful human being with my resume.
We'll talk more about that later.
And but it wasn't until I got help with that I was like, yes, that's what, it's like. I wanted to talk about this in because it gets so, I think sometimes our podcasts get a little emotional, and I can feel the emotions when I'm talking. I just don't feel like I'm good enough for anything that I want as far as a job goes. And I've never had to negotiate a salary. I've never had to do any of these things. And it takes a lot of research on my part to do my resume and to do a cover letter. And girl, I'm going to be quite honest with you. There are jobs that I really, really wanted that I didn't even submit an application for, just because of that overwhelming feeling of I'm not good enough for this position, blah, blah, blah.
Oh, let me tell you this, because you know what? Again, we know it's not just us that has this feeling. Yeah. There's a study, and I'll have to find it and see if we'll link it down below. Men will apply for a job if they meet 60% of the qualifications. Women have to feel like they need to meet 100% of the qualifications to apply for a job, particularly in leadership levels. So what does that tell you? You don't have to. And here's the thing. So I've, speaking of, sorry, please continue. I feel like I just stopped because I'm an interrupter. My apologies.
I feel like that's the beautiful thing about our podcast, is that when you hear something, because there are times and I have to say that you are the person that I go to when these things happen. And I have learned to reach out to my friends because we talk about this almost, I think we almost talked about this every episode, is how we gas each other up, and we're like, yeah, girl, you do this and you can do it and this and that. Back to what I was saying, it takes a lot of that for me to feel safe enough to actually go for the job. And so when I'm looking into a new job, it's like, I get the heebie-jeebies and I'm like, oh, I have to do this, I have to do that. Bragging, and it's not called bragging. A cover letter is not a brag. It's not a brag.
It's the
It's
facts. Just the
right.
facts, ma'am.
And I feel like it's like
It's a
bragging.
story. Really, when you start talking about cover letters is just a story.
Mhm.
And yeah, it's a very interesting story.
Right. And like, I was just thinking about the, like, I have a lot of growing up to do, as far as, girl, this is just another job, and they would be lucky to,
Well, that's the thing that people don't realize. When you're applying for a job, you're also applying the company or the organization. You're when you're in an interview, it's not just them interviewing you for the position. You're interviewing them to see if this is a place you want to be. And I'll be honest, I have done interviews and gotten the job and taken them, realized like, oh crap, this is not where I'm supposed to be, and had to rescind taking that offer. Now that's not something I try to practice, and I'm a lot more careful now, or I'm a lot more clear now actually on where I want to go and what it is I'm looking for. So that makes a very big difference. Being very clear on, no, this is the job that I'm looking for. I'm looking for something that is going to do these things because this is what I'm here to do. I've gotten very clear, at least in the past few months, on what I'm here to do and what my purpose is and why I've been put on this earth, at least why I think I've been put on this earth. And so, but your cover letter is just a story. It's just the story of how you're connected to this company and how you're connected to this position. And I think a lot of times it does get overwhelming because people think, oh, I have to brag on myself. No, you just have to say, no, I always use your hair products if it's a hair company, or no, I've been doing this work for a long time and I'm really good at it, whatever said work is. So I think that's something, especially as Native women, because we gotta be humble. And if you're bragging on yourself, you're not humble. If you're stating facts, and a lot of times you're stating facts like, no, I was good at my job and we're good at our jobs. That's not bragging, that's just truth.
Yeah. And a lot of the time I don't hold on to that truth as much as I need to, and that's the whole thing about imposter syndrome, is that like you have done all these really wonderful things up to this point, and at every single job you have gone above and beyond your seated position to make things happen and to sometimes carry the whole organization on my back, and I would do that in a heartbeat. And it's like, and I think that I show up for myself. I think it's about showing up for yourself sometimes. And I feel like, since I've turned 30, I've kind of showed up for myself a lot more. Like,
Something happens at 30. If it ain't happened, you need to check your bulb. The light bulb just
girl,
comes on or clicks or something. I don't know.
girls, once you hit 30, oh my goodness, there are so many. I think we should have a whole episode on that, because it's wonderful. I feel like it's like wonderful on this side of the world. Um, because, well, and another part of this I kind of wanted to touch on, and I wanted to get your opinion, or whatever, your take on it, your hot take,
I got to take.
your no nuance November. But I don't know if this happens to you, but I'm also always looking for outside validation that I am an imposter.
Well, that's a feedback loop.
Right.
So I'm just going to finish chewing there. So what happens a lot of times in our brains is our brains want to reinforce what they already know. And I'm saying this really badly. It's in the book Atomic Habits. He explains it much better in there. However, so for example, your brain wants to take the path of least resistance. It already believes you're an imposter. So that's part of the feedback loop. And then something will happen. You go, oh yeah, I am an imposter. And it feeds back into, but I feel like an imposter. No, I am an imposter. No, of course, this is why I'm an imposter. That I feel like an imposter. It's why. So you have to break that feedback loop. And a lot of times what we have to do is in breaking that feedback loop is to find the things that break it. That makes no sense. But let me kind of explain a little. So for example, if the feedback loop is, I am an imposter, then by breaking it, you go do something like, no, I do this and I do it really good. And you go engage in that activity because, no, I'm not an imposter. I have actually had several friends who had different learning disabilities. And one of the things they said about graduating college is they would have nightmares that they were coming for their degree. Like someone said, oh, no, you didn't graduate. You really didn't graduate. And that's part of their imposter syndrome because their learning disability was like, my learning disability means I'm stupid. But I have a learning disability. It means I'm stupid. But no, you have a learning disability. It just means you have a different way of learning. Period. Blank. That's it. And so you just have to find the thing or find the strategy that helps you in doing that. And so, I've had several friends with different learning disabilities are like, yeah, and it was a common thread. It's like, I had this dream they were coming to take my degree back. And I actually felt that. So in college, I was supposed to finish the English education track. My degree was supposed to be in English education. And towards the end, I got really sick. I was doing my student teaching. And when you're student teaching, you can't work because you have to work like a teacher for free. And I didn't have any other, I had other jobs. Yeah, see, I had other jobs at that time. But I had to work very limited hours. I was always at the school. I got sick. And I got super sick. So much so I had to stay out. So it became a problem with lesson plans or something. And there was no grace given. Let me put it that way. There was no grace given. And I ended up failing out of that education course. And because I failed out of that, I chose to just graduate with an English degree instead of English education. That was really the only thing I had left. I was like, I'm not sitting around for another year because I would have had to wait. That was the spring. I would have had to wait all of fall to go all of spring and redo it. And I was like, I'm not doing it. I'm not putting myself through that again. I just go a different track. And I did. And I just put it on, I just didn't do what I was supposed to do. I just was I was just a horrible student, blah, blah, blah. I'm not a horrible student, and my grades will show you that. Anyway, my cousin had the exact same thing happen to him. And he called me and he said, oh my God, she's threatening to fail me. It's the same professor. It was the same situation. And so I was, and that helped me break that of I wasn't worthy. I was like, heck yeah, I was worthy, and this heifer's a heifer. And so I gave him the advice I wish I would have had. And then I told him what I did, and he ultimately made his decision. But yeah, it was that outside of, oh wait, this wasn't just, and a lot of times when we're in those situations, what we find out is that it isn't just you. Sometimes it is. Had I been a white student, I think I would have gotten a different level of grace. Even though I look white, she knew I wasn't. And my cousin is Native too. And so I don't think she provided any grace or anything for her. But other white students got that grace. Eat my cracker.
It sounds like a common denominator situation, when you're the common denominator, or I think that the common denominator is usually the problem. Yeah.
But going back, so one of the things I've done, and one of the things that helps you also break that feedback loop is when you start helping other people and giving to other people. And I've actually started a business, Schulman Enterprises. You can go to BrittanySchulman.com/Schulman Enterprises. We'll put it in the thing below. And what I'm doing is really helping other women with their resumes, with job coaching, specifically around that imposter syndrome, and specifically to move into leadership positions, because we need more women of color in leadership positions. And let's be real clear and real honest. If men will go at 60%, there's no reason why you can't go at 60%, because you are capable. You are absolutely capable of any job you want. Your resume will stack up and tell you. And what some folks, and this is, I'm going to give you some tea now. Here's the tea. Get you a piece of paper, write this down. If you are going for a specific job, you take that job description and you match it up to your resume. So you go through your resume. Your resume is not a static document. It's not something that's like, oh, one and done. I got a resume and it's done. No. You go through that job description and you make sure that the words match, because even though you may have been a sales manager over here, they want one that manages sales. It's the same thing. You just change the words so that people can read. So it becomes easy for people to see your qualifications and easy for people to see that you are qualified for that job. And then there's all sorts of things you can do to prepare yourself for an interview. And what I was wanting, and one of the reasons I'm starting this, is I got some really bad advice from a non-person of color about interviews. So there was a particular question that, they had all these questions you should ask when you're doing an interview. And one of the questions was that you should ask is, based on our interview and my resume today, are there any things that concern you, that leave you with some concern about me getting this position? Now, let me just break this down. First of all, what the purpose of that question is to say, I realize I'm not a 100% perfect candidate, and I want the opportunity for you to tell me I'm not a 100% perfect candidate. I take great feedback. And then the other half of it is, oh, but now let me explain why that's not an issue, whatever it is. However, if you're applying in vastly people of color organizations, which I was at the time, the feedback was like, no, baby, you're so good. You're all right. So it wasn't ever taken as, no, give me feedback. It was always taken as, you're okay. And it was one of those. And it happened multiple times, and I would ask the question differently. I would pose it differently. And then I realized the common denominator, this is for white people. This is not necessarily for me or for the organizations I was applying for. So I don't necessarily think that cost me a job anywhere, but it was one of those that it didn't leave a good. I didn't feel good asking it. So that would be one of the things. If you don't feel good asking a question, then you might want to examine why you don't feel good asking that question. And then the other is the feedback I would always get would be like, oh, no, you're wonderful. Not necessarily that facetiously, but
Roy, I'm
kind
not
of.
fishing for
Kind of.
compliments or fishing for criticism. Constructive criticism right now. Please tell me what I totally get. Just because I know the type of organizations that I worked with you, but I just totally get where that probably went sometimes. How funny. There were interviews that I've done as far as I went and I interviewed for a big organization in Washington DC, and it was the first time that I was like, I should have got that. And I think in my opinion, my very humble opinion, it was a technicality. So that was like the first time in my life where I was like, I should have got that. But I think it was because I wasn't in a leadership level
Mm-hmm.
position. And I wasn't quite working on my master's yet. So, and that I was like, that's the technicality that, when you saw who was chosen or the candidates that were chosen side by side, that's really all they were missing. It was a technicality. But coming from that, I was like, see, that's why your 30s are just so much better. You're like, I could have got that. Dang it. It was a technicality. It wasn't even me.
Yeah. And I think part of it is building up that rejection bone, that re-examining your rejection, the rejection part of it. It's like, this just wasn't for me. I mean, I've gotten in interviewing. I mean, I've had hundreds of thousands of jobs. I kid you not. I've had hundreds of jobs. And in the interview part, there's been hundreds of jobs I didn't get. And it was framing it as, well, it just wasn't for me. It just wasn't my time. It just wasn't it wasn't necessarily what I wanted. It wasn't necessarily what they wanted. I'm not what they wanted, and that's no shade to me. That just means there's candidates out there. That means there's other people out there who are doing really cool things. It's not, rejection is never about you.
Wait, that's a whole nother episode. Don't reject me, because I feel abandoned now, so don't leave.
Rejection is never ever about you. Rejection is about the other person and what they need and want and desire, and that's not anything personal. And you don't have to take it personal.
I think that's a lot of where I'm at sometimes. Is I take things personal, and like, we all know I go to a therapist, and I hope you all do, and it's okay to go to a therapist. But
this is a safe space.
Sometimes I'll tell her about a situation, and I'm like, I'm so mad, and it's just bothering me. And she's like, well, you're taking it. It's not like you're taking it personal, but like my, the certain aspects of mental health can make things very personal, and they're really not that deep, So,
oh yeah,
rejection from a job is not.
Every form of rejection is not personal.
Exactly.
Because rejection has nothing. You can't control anyone else thinks what anyone else thinks. More importantly, it's never any of your business what anyone else thinks. Mm-hmm. Therefore, rejection is never personal.
The winner goes to, the award goes to both of us, because we're both valid. And so are you, boo boo.
That's really very. I really live by that. It's like it's not. Yeah. So things that, and probably more so than I should, because even sometimes when things were personal, I was like, no, it's not personal. Not my business. Even when people were like, and I've known people who went out of their way to do something to hurt me. It didn't hurt me at all. It didn't even faze me because I was clueless. I was completely clueless because it's not about me.
Well, I know about our friendship with you, and this has to do with the people that I feel safe with too, is that I can say, Brittany, that was really off color and it hurt my feelings, and this is why, and like that. This should just been when you're in your 30s episode, when we're gonna make a whole one. But I'm starting to realize that, and it's hard. Like, we all bloom at different times in our lives, and a lot of people probably know this before. A lot of people probably don't. I'm 33. There, I said it. Okay. I'm 33.
33 was such a good year.
I was 33, and the thing is that I'm learning a lot of these things about rejection, but also how that flips and plays into trauma. Again, its own episode, but realizing that, and that's what takes the power away from that imposter syndrome, right? Is that even if I apply to 50 jobs and I get one, I got one, yeah, and 49 rejected me, the one that said yes to me and the one that I wanted is the one that was for me.
Mm-hmm.
And so it takes it takes the power out of things, because also I think one more thing that also plays in this a lot for me as a human being is the imposter syndrome is when I mess up once, that imperfection is like, I'm not worthy. No,
You're
go
right.
for it.
Perfectionism is a byproduct of colonialism. It's a way of I have to and I have to be perfect or else I die. And that's very extreme, and it's an internalized thing that happens,
Mhm.
that we have to be 100%. We have to be perfect. We have to be good. We have to be in that frame of mind, and we have to do things that way because we quite literally will die. And part of it is that historic trauma. Part of it is the fact we're in spaces we're not supposed to be in. And any space you're in as a woman of color, you are not supposed to be in.
Well, and I think
Like,
that
period.
mistakes also put a lens on you, as in, well, I'm perfect, no one's gonna bother me, no one's gonna notice. Then you mess up and it's like all eyes on you, you know?
Which still isn't even true.
No. Oh, wait, okay, didn't I mention at the beginning of this episode that Native women are human? Oh,
That's so
oh my
funny because
goodness.
those times when we think all eyes are on us and everyone's staring, ain't nobody seen it. I mean, it's like wearing a black and a blue shoe to work, go all day long, and you're like, dang, everybody knows I didn't match my shoes, and ain't nobody noticed. Nobody said nothing. Nobody's even looked at them, which
Well, they
is
don't
a true
notice
story.
when you have a haircut or new nails. They definitely didn't notice your dang shoes.
Yeah, again, true story. Worked all day. All day. Nobody said
I have,
nothing. Two
I
different shoes.
I have a really funny story too about that. So one time my ex and I were going to get Sole from Acapulco's. Oh my God, it's so good.
That's so New Mexican of you. Please keep on.
Yeah. So we were sitting down to watch The Walking Dead. That's how long ago it was.
Oh,
And I was walking out of the store and I missed the concrete slab and fell and hit my entire face on a bumper. I didn't break anything.
oh my gosh.
I didn't break anything, but my ex was like, you just disappeared. I couldn't even see where you were at because I was on the ground. And no, there was this entire window, like entire open faced restaurant, and not one person saw me fall and hit my face on the bumper. People
Yeah.
didn't notice what was happening until like I was, of course, gushing blood because I hit my nose, and people didn't even start noticing until I started bleeding, and like that just goes to show, like you can hit your whole face on a bumper and no one could know.
Yeah. It's, yeah. That's, oh my gosh. You
I'm
want to talk
sorry,
about fallen stories? Oh, honey.
but that's a whole
That's
3 hour
a whole
episode.
episode in and of itself because here's the thing. I didn't get glasses until sixth grade.
Oh
And
gosh.
no, it is. Here's the real thing. My people just thought I was clumsy. They just thought, I mean, my legs would be all ruined from running in weeds and fought. My knees have whole caps on them where I always fell. I would always walk into walls. I walk into poles. Sixth grade, get glasses, which is another story in and of itself. And we'll entitle that "Adventures with our medical community." Anywho, I couldn't see. The problem was I couldn't see. It wasn't I was clumsy. I wasn't clumsy. I was just blind. Friend of mine, he was an adult before he finally got glasses, and he put them on. He said, "Y'all, I ain't seen the stars in 5 years." I was like, "Dude, how long have you been driving in the dark? How long have you been driving me in the dark?"
I'm pretty sure the day that I did that, I got brand new glasses, and that's why I missed the curve. You know how it is sometimes when you get glasses, it's like, what? You have an adjustment period.
Yeah. So anywho, if you are, if and this is just my PSA, call to action, whatever you want to call it. If you are looking for a job, if you're looking to change your job, if you are wanting to do something different, we'll put the information below. Get in touch with me. I am really here to help folks find that job that they want, move into the positions that they want, move up the ladder, whatever your ladder is. And I'm really here to help you, and I want to help you. Knowing how difficult imposter syndrome can be, knowing how difficult those interviews can be, and especially when it's over Zoom. I mean, I'm a very visual person. That's one of the reasons I like this, is that I can see us and we can see, see what's happening. You can read my face. You can see my, me stuffing my face full of cheese and crackers.
Well, your face says a lot more than your words do. So that's what I like about this.
well, so I actually had a few interviews during the quarantine period where it was completely on a call, and I'm like, I have no idea how this went down because I can't see anybody. I can't read the room and I can't feel the energy. So if you're going through that and you want some tips or whatever it is, feel free to get in contact with me. I'm here to help. I'm here to help us move forward together.
Well, I think with that, just again, like, comment, subscribe. You can find me on all my socials. I always get the camera wrong, guys. I will get this right here. They're my socials.
Hers is right there. Mine's right here.
I still went the wrong way.
Oh my Lord. I do have to look at the screen though. I can't look at the camera and go, it's right here, guys.
Socials. This is my Instagram. You can follow me there. I have my own videos here on my YouTube. Facebook is this as well. Dang it. I thought I got it that time. And where can they find you, Brittany?
I am on Facebook, Brittany Schulman. I'm on Instagram. It's Brittany Schulman. We won't talk about Twitter. It's a pain in the rear. However, you also go to www.brittanyschulman.com and see all the different things that we're doing, all the different work. We also, Paula and I, have a live every Wednesday. So Wednesday at 7 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, Mountain Daylight Time, whatever mountain time it's on. We're at 7 p.m.
we're on so 4 o'clock time.
If you want some more unscripted time with us, usually I'm cooking dinner. Usually she is eating dinner or cooking dinner. So it's
or salivating over what she's making.
Yeah, it's a good time. So we'd love to have you come join us over there. You can follow us. Yeah, follow us for more recipes.
I mean, if you guys have any questions, leave them in the comments. We'll try to get to them.
Yeah. So thank you guys so much. We appreciate you being here. And that's my cue. Bye.